morning and welcome to Daybreak Live on Dominion Television, Ibadan. I am Samson Balogun. Our first conversation this morning turns to South Africa, where concerns over xenophobic attacks have once again put safety of Nigerians and other African migrants in focus. The Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM, is urging South African authorities to step up protection and prevent further violence. It is a familiar crisis, but one that keeps returning with serious consequences. What does this mean for diplomatic relations, migrant safety, and Africa's promise of unity across borders? That is our Daybreak gist this morning. We'll also bring you the weather report and the latest Daybreak news, keeping you informed on the stories shaping the country and the wider world.
As the morning unfolds, we turn to the newspaper headlines where today's front pages reflect the country's political mood, economic realities, and the issues competing for public attention. We'll take you through the key headlines and what they tell us about the moment Nigeria is in. Then our attention shifts to the politics of 2027 with our big story, a head start to 2027, what Tinubu's second-term declaration means for opposition and governance. When a sitting president signals second-term intentions this early, it changes the political temperature. Does it strengthen policy focus through continuity, or does it put governance into campaign mode sooner than expected? Joining us for that conversation is Honorable Molaja Olaoye.
And before we leave you this morning, we turn our attention to Trend Watch. We bring together the stories, reactions, and conversations shaping public opinion across the country.
The headlines are moving really fast as we progress.
Yes, and the political clock is already ticking.
This is Daybreak Live. Please stay with us this morning.
Right. You stay with us as we have a lot to discuss this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning,
Samson. It's really nice to be here once again. And this is actually one conversation that catches the attention of everyone, especially Nigerians abroad, and even some in Nigeria, and also NIDCOM under the leadership of Daybreak. This is something that, it's a familiar story. It's a familiar issue that really has not been attended to the way it should be. According to the pact between African countries, there is a promise of safety of other Africans across borders. But unfortunately, it is not looking like that in some places, especially in South Africa. This is not the first time that we are having issues of xenophobic attacks on Nigerians and citizens of other African countries who reside or are domiciled in South Africa. The most troubling part of it is that lately we have been seeing clips and about some South Africans who belong to no authority. I mean, they do not work with any authority in South Africa, not even the immigration or the police, walking up to fellow Africans and asking them what they are doing in South Africa and why they are doing the business they are doing, if they have permits or licenses to do their businesses. That for me has reached its height, and someone somewhere in South Africa should really call this, what it is. I mean, call a spade and address it once and for all.
Right, I think you're very spot on. And I think about a few weeks back, we talked about a particular headline, speaking about Zimbabwe now, that some Nigerians were arrested unfairly in Zimbabwe and that they were treated in a manner that is not so good at all compared to other people that were arrested that belong to other countries. And then they were arrested for days, and then Madam Abike, had to write to the authorities to say that, no, do not keep them in your custody for no reason. If at all they have done something, charge them to court and let them plead their case. And then, so moving away from that, now talking about South Africa, just like you mentioned, this is not the first time that something like this is happening. And I remember that I think I talked about a topic on this set a few days back, and I was asking my guest the question to see that why is it that Nigeria, that has done so much for so many of those African countries at a time, why are they treating Nigerians like that in their countries? Because if you look at Nigeria served that, or let me say was held that position of the big brother rule at a time, especially looking at the fact that Nigeria got independence before some other countries. They helped other countries get independence. There was this Africanness, this colonial solidarity quite a number of help that they give out to all these African countries, and it appears that African countries are, let me say, Nigerians are not treated so fairly in these countries. They will even give special treatment to other people from other African countries compared to Nigerians. And then the only saving grace for Nigerians right now in other countries is the fact that Nigerians are smart, Nigerians are brilliant, and then so there's nothing you can do about it. Wherever Nigerians get to, they find a way to stand out. I was making reference to a particular guy, a young guy in the UK who is a doctor, a resident doctor. When they were giving out awards on the day of the award, he cleared all the 8 residential awards. He was able to do quite a number of things. So that's the only thing that is saving Nigerians now. And then I don't know what I think I've been hearing from her. Nothing. Whenever anything like this happens, she will always come out to talk about it, to say, what are you doing? What are you guys doing about it? You don't deserve to treat Nigerians this way. And I think it's a good one coming from her. It's just that we need to put in more effort, because at the end of the day, Nigeria is a good country, whether you like it or not, even though there are issues in this country. And I think that those issues, we have them in other countries as well. Nigeria is a sovereign country, and this same country has been good to this country, especially South Africa, especially Zimbabwe, Ghana, Angola. Mention all of those countries. There was even a time that President Obasanjo gave out cash money to some of these African countries just to support them in terms of when they were, especially when some of these countries were going through civil war. Talk about Zimbabwe. Nigeria was instrumental into helping this country to actually come out of civil war, to get their independence and support them even afterwards. I'm sure some of us are even aware that Nigeria even gave some of this country access to light. So we have been good to our neighboring countries, but then we don't get the same response, or we don't get the same treatment. And it speaks to the fact that, okay, maybe some of them have complained bitterly that you find Nigerians go to other countries and commit all sorts of atrocities. I mean, that is very fair, because I mean, even the Zimbabwe country now, I think I read a particular story that sometimes some drug barriers, Brazilian drug barriers, were found alongside some Nigerians. So these issues happen, and I think it happens everywhere too. In this same country, you've seen other people, other members of other countries come to this country and commit a lot of atrocities too. Talk about China. At some point, some of them were arrested recently. So it happens everywhere. So we need to do so much to improve the image of Nigeria in other countries, basically.
Well, day before yesterday, I think a day before that, there was a particular clip of some South Africans who walked up to some businesses, having conversations with them, and talking about the fact that, yes, we know you have businesses in South Africa. You have established these businesses to boost our economy. But what we want you to do for us is to stop employing fellow Africans. You should only employ South Africans. And that now brings us to the issue of the economy generally. We spoke about the fact that the Lagos economy is bigger than some economies in Africa, including that of South Africa. So if we now have to put this side by side with what is currently going on, I think Nigerians think Nigeria is the worst country in the world. But, well, that is not true. Because according to what I can deduce from what is going on here, is that even South Africans are feeling the heat of unemployment. They are feeling the heat of the fact that security in their country has been a little bit shaky when it comes to gang shootings and some other things like that. And you have to look at how this has been addressed by South Africans themselves and not the government now. I can see that there is a lot going on within the South African system. And the citizens felt like they could actually address that themselves. And if it has now gotten to the stage where many jobs that used to be for foreigners is now being fought for by South Africans themselves. Look at the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, and some other countries like that across the world, especially in Asia. There is an arrangement, right, that some South Africans do not do some things. I mean, some Asians, there are some jobs they do not do. They actually bring in some, foreigners to come do it because there's an arrangement for their citizens. There used to be a time it happened like that in South Africa that they really did not care about these menial jobs, plumbing and some mechanic works and some other things like that. But now that they are fighting for this, it's not really about how they are fighting it anymore. It's about what is happening within the country that is making them, look for avenues to send foreigners away from their country. And that also begs the question of how do you react when you find yourself in other countries? Okay, you have gotten to maybe, for example, you have gotten to South Africa. Are you really representing Nigeria well? Because when you check databases of Nigerians who are in prisons in some countries, you will be really ashamed. Ghana, for example, go and check. You mention names, hundreds of Nigerians in prisons in Ghana, and you'll be looking at what exactly happened. Is it immigration issue, or was it that they got in there legally and they started committing crimes? Because if you cannot do it right at home, there is no way you'll be able to do it right in another person's country. And we have always said this, that, look, there are things you can... I wrote an article day before yesterday that if, for example, you complain about Nigeria about almost everything, even if your doors are not properly locked in your home, you complain about it. If you have stomachache, you complain that it's the government's fault. But most Nigerians cannot survive in a sane situation, in a sane country where everything works. Most Nigerians cannot survive where the rule of law is actually in play. Look at, for example, some Nigerians who get abroad, work diligently, get their monies, and then come to Nigeria and then open their shirts, open the roof, slap blasting, and then driving against traffic, doing all sorts of things. Things they cannot originally do where they are coming from. But Nigeria is a place where you can actually do all of that. If you now get to a country where they say, look, this cannot be done in our country, then it's a problem. So we really need to look at how Nigerians are representing Nigeria in other countries too. Yes, they might be reacting to it in a very wrong way. I mean, attacking fellow Africans. I mean, if you are doing that to Africans, what would you do to other, citizens of other countries? And I can say, for example, that they are not really talking about Chinese in their country. They are not talking about Indians in their country. They are really talking about fellow Africans, like the Nigerians, Ghanaians, and some other people in their country. Why Africans and not other people? And that's a question that really needs to be answered.
Yes, and then just like I mentioned, that even that Zimbabwe case that happened a few weeks back, that a particular media house reported that some drug barons were found alongside some Nigerians and that they were arrested. So it speaks to the fact that even as a country, Nigerians themselves, we must portray ourselves well. So we should not just depend on the authorities to come to our rescue when you go to other countries and commit all sorts of atrocities. It doesn't make sense, because at the end of the day, you're a representative of your country. One of my lecturers said something, that the first time he traveled to UK, it was a particular area where it was majorly dominated by the whites. He said when he got there and he just said, I just came out to just check the atmosphere and check the buildings. He said somebody from his room up just called him and said, what are you doing in my area? Because the man was surprised. Why are you walking? Why are you just walking? Where are you going? And so these people are so concerned. And then he said that might not have happened if he's like a white person, if he's not a black person. So it speaks to the issues on ground, the kind of experience that these people have with some Nigerians are terrible. I tell you, a friend of mine traveled recently out of the country. I don't really remember the country now. He said the first person he met in that country is a Nigerian, and that person duped him. No, does that make sense to you? In Nigeria, not even in another country, that person duped him, and the person is a Nigerian.
The kind of thing.
Kind of thing. It doesn't make any sense. So the person is saying, so he has experienced something like that in Nigeria before, but then he didn't expect that something like that would still happen to him outside of Nigeria. In this country, I think about a few years ago, a particular man that belongs to a country, a Western country, established a restaurant in this country. And he said that he doesn't want other people to come to the restaurant except for people who are of the same nation with him. And the people were asking him, in this same country, why not take that restaurant to your country if you don't want other people to patronize you? So these are the issues that we have on ground. And I think Nigerians themselves, we can actually start this. If you want it to get better, if you want people to treat you better in other countries, we need to start behaving well, basically.
Okay, you see, when it comes to the issue of doing the right thing, when it comes to the issue of being able to separate race from religion and some other things like that, Africans used to be the best place to do it. They used to be the best set of people that understood the assignment. But unfortunately, over the years, this has further, disintegrated the African nations. Now, there used to be a time where, African countries were big brothers to some other African countries. They were playing big brother roles. In fact, they would give money, they would send machineries, the military personnel to go there, restore peace and do all sorts of things like that. Nigeria was at the forefront of all of that. I could remember the time of ECOMOG and some other things. Just recently, in Benin Republic, there was meant to be a takeover by the military. Nigeria swung into action, got it sorted out, and some other areas like that. South Africa, for example, should be one of the countries that is really indebted to Nigeria as a country. I was watching a video of Winnie Mandela yesterday, and she mentioned, I mean, for about 5 minutes of her speech, she was busy talking about Nigeria and talking about how Nigeria played that big brother role when they really needed an African country to actually help them out during the time of apartheid. But if it now gets to this stage where Africans are hating on fellow Africans, Africans don't want fellow Africans to be, in South Africa and some other African countries, then the question is, we are talking about having a unified currency. Okay, there was a time when, I think that was during the time of Muammar Gaddafi, who said, look, as Africans, just like a euro can be spent in, in any European nation, let's look for a currency that can also unify us as a continent. And that could not really see the light of the day. They were also talking about having a passport that cuts across every African country. With that, you can enter or get into every African country without being stopped or being checked for, illegal migration. But unfortunately, I don't think that will work now. When at a time like this, some are already saying, look, we don't want you in our country. So if you now have that kind of passport and you still have some hindrances in getting to some countries, then why do you have it? So it boils down to the fact that Africans are not ready to be liberated. Okay, I think we are still thinking like we are still yet to be colonized. So it's a really, really sad situation that this is happening, and I really do feel like African leaders should sit down, have a discussion about this. This is not the first time actually. And then what happens to the bilateral agreements between all these countries if we now have to go through this route again? At least there were pacts signed by them years ago. Is it time for it to be renewed? Must we now look into our immigration and migration laws to see exactly what we can do to make sure we stop this before it gets out of hand, and then some of them they start getting themselves killed across the country?
Yes, I think those parts were signed many years back, but the problem is that, you see, those leaders, many of them are passed, and then other people have been able to become the president of those countries. So one problem I'm seeing between African leaders is that they lack the ability to maintain relationships. So when you see that the president leaves, and then that president has good relationship with the current president, when the administration when they are done with the administration and other people come in, it's difficult for some of these people to maintain the relationship that was in existence, when those people were there. And then it also reflects, even with African leaders and Western leaders, you see that it takes a lot to actually maintain that relationship or even bring it back at all. So it's a problem. I remember recently a particular African leader was apologizing for saying that Nigerians cannot speak good English. I don't know whether you saw that video.
I saw the video.
So you see that it's difficult to even have good relationship.
I was trying to twist and turn what he said.
Don't forget the turbulence, or let me say the chaos on Twitter between Nigerians and Ghana. We always argue about a lot of things, and the leaders are saying all of these things. So it doesn't make any sense to me. I think you should start from working on the relationship between the leaders, because when the likes of OPJ was in power, I mentioned to you, he had a good relationship, with the leader of South Africa, Ghana, mentioned all of these names. So he was even able to help them. I mentioned that he gave them a cash reward at some point just to support them, because of what they were going through at the time. So we need to go back to that. We need to maintain relationship with the past leaders and even the present leaders. I think that's a good way to go, because at the end of the day, you can't do it alone. Aristotle says something: any man who says he can stand alone is either a beast or a god. You need people at some point in your life. It doesn't matter. Yes, Nigeria is blessed with natural resources, but we are still struggling with a lot of things. So we still need to liaise with other African countries to see how they can help us, even down to insecurity. It's not just about our people who live there alone, down to insecurity, because at the time, I remember, Nigeria was instrumental to helping some neighboring African countries solve insecurity. What are these people doing to help us? I mentioned something, a writer wrote something. He said Nigeria should stop being the Santa Claus of Africa. That when other people are in trouble, Nigeria is so swift in helping them. Remember what happened in Benin? You remember that we were quick to send them troops and things like that just to help them quell the coup. But then we have seen several issues in this country. How many African countries have been able to help us in the last 5 years when we were going through issues? How many have supported us in terms of insecurity? But if if it's Nigeria, we forget our own problems and then we help them. Some people have even called us the Good Samaritan country, basically.
Well, I think there are ways to go about this and then to put this to an end totally. I think South Africans should begin, or maybe all Africans should begin to teach their children tolerance early, especially in schools. I mean, these things would help a lot, especially, you know, you can't just start acting this kind of way if you have not actually had that in mind before now. It doesn't start overnight. It's something that, especially when you don't teach history, you don't know your own history, you begin to do some things, and then at the end of the day, someone will tell you, oh, look, if you are truly a student of history, you should know better. And I don't think most South Africans right now, well, in most countries, youth carry about 50 to 60 or thereabout, or roughly over 60% of the population. So if you now look back in history, you would understand the fact that most of them, or some of them, did not witness what happened, they did not witness apartheid, or did not read about it. So they should begin to teach them tolerance. And also, there should be something we call positive interaction. Okay, as fellow Africans, yes, you might say, oh, I'm in South Africa today, I'm a South African, I don't plan to leave, and then someday you have a reason to be in Nigeria too. So do you expect to be treated the same way you are treating Nigerians, Ugandans, and some other fellow African nationals you have found in your country today? So these are areas we should look at. Then there are issues of false narratives out there. Okay, the social media has so much allowed people to peddle so much lies that you can't even tell the truth. There are so many deepfake videos online that you cannot really tell the difference unless you are a pro. And when you now see all of this, you begin to react, and you don't even know you are reacting based on lies you have been told by some people. And I really think that's the area where the government really needs to come in. There should be a level of regulation to all of these things, especially the issue of social media. I'm really scared that this might be the reason that we have another world war, because so many people really cannot tell the difference between deepfake and original. And when you now react based on what you have seen on social media, that you cannot really tell the difference, then there is a problem. So there should be a level of regulation to how we spread deep fake videos, especially some social media influencers who are looking for clicks, and then they put headlines out there, and the moment some people don't even read the body of the story, when they have gotten the headline, they are, of course, they don't care about the rest of the story. So headlines that look more like clickbaits than actual truth, they can actually set the country on fire if one is not careful. So the government should look into some of these things. I think there should be a level of regulation to these things you are doing, and leaders should also be held accountable. Okay, most of these leaders, I mean, if a leader can come out to say some people from one country do not know how to speak good English, that shows how reckless some leaders can be when it comes to speaking, and how carefree they are when it comes to sensitive issues. This, I mean, look at how some issues as baseless as jollof rice set up some, Ghana and Nigeria set them up for dragging on social media. And football too. Set them up for dragging on social media. Eventually, some will say, oh, we won them. The other will say, we actually won in the...
Down to music and artists.
Down to music. So it tells you how competitive, Africans can be. So if you now come out to say, as a leader, you come out to, make some baseless accusations, or maybe now come out to raise some unnecessary dust, you don't know how these people will react. And when they react, you might not really, I mean, look at what he said when he was trying to defend what he said. He said, I hope this has not raised so many eyebrows in Nigeria, because he also monitors the social media and saw how Nigerians reacted to all of that. I mean, a country that has a kind of violation in you say they don't know how to speak good English. That tells you how reckless some leaders can be, and they really need to be accountable for what they do, and they should be careful of what they put out there. So the South African president is... one I want to talk to you directly this morning. You really have to nip this in the bud before it gets out of hand. There was a time where, the last time this happened, it resulted in a lot of deaths. And if this gets out of hand and gets to, violence level, then you know how many people will lose their lives because of this. So this is the reason why it should be stopped now before it gets out of hand.
Right, and to add to that, I remember when Tyler won a particular award, it was more on Twitter. And while some Nigerians are saying, what is she singing? And I remember even the artists in the same category with her even congratulated her. They were not, bitter about
Nigerians
it.
dragged her.
But Nigerians dragged for days on Twitter. It doesn't make any sense to me. And then beyond that, I think Nigeria is a very accommodating country. And that speaks to how people are eager to come down to Nigeria. Right. So beyond what some Nigerians are committing outside of here, when they go to other countries, when some of these Western people also come down to Nigeria, they see a lot of things that are so wrong. I remember there was a time a Russian writer came to Nigeria, and then he made a video and said he was able to, they were asking him to pay money. Or when he was in the cab, they were asking the drivers to pay money. He said the driver kept paying 200 here, 500 here, and he could not, understand what was going on.
Why he was paying them so much?
It's a problem, and it's not the first person. Imagine the millions of people that watched that video. So we also need to do better, even things that are going on in the country beyond what some Nigerians are committing outside of this place. If we can actually work on, those sides, I think things will get better, basically.
All right, it's a fine place to leave that conversation this morning. We say thank you for being a part of the show so far. It is time for us to take weather report on the show this morning. And we'll be starting with the ancient metropolitan city of hospitality, Ibadan. Right now in Ibadan, weather is currently at 24 degrees Celsius. And later in the morning, it will be partly cloudy. And of course, the weather rises to 29 degrees Celsius with humidity at 2%. There will be few showers in the afternoon. And the weather rises to 33 degrees Celsius with humidity maintaining the same balance at 33%. And in the evening, it drops to 27 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy, humidity at 1%. Overnight, it drops further to 25 degrees Celsius. Weather will be mostly clear and humidity will be at 3% in Ibadan today.
And from Ibadan, let's cross to Ilorin, West Kwara. Weather this morning feels like 25 degrees Celsius. And later in the morning is expected to be around 29 degrees Celsius. Mostly sunny, around 1%. In the afternoon, we have 35 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy, around 8%. In the evening, it drops to 28 degrees Celsius, mostly clear, around 3%. And overnight, it drops to 25 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy, around 2%. And that's what we have for Ilorin, West Kwara this morning.
Right away from Ilorin this morning, we'll take a quick tour to the center of excellence, and that is Lagos. Weather in Lagos right now is mostly cloudy at 27 degrees Celsius. Of course, it rises further to 30 degrees Celsius later in the morning. It will be partly cloudy with humidity at 2%. And again, in the afternoon, it will rise to 32 degrees Celsius. It will be mostly cloudy. Humidity will be around 24%. It drops to 28 degrees Celsius in the evening. Weather returns to being partly cloudy. Humidity will be at 5%. And overnight, it will drop slightly to 27 degrees Celsius, remaining partly cloudy with humidity at 1% in Lagos today.
And from Lagos, we cross to Ekiti, southwest. Weather in Ekiti this morning feels like 23 degrees Celsius. Later in the morning is expected to be around 27 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy, around 2%. In the afternoon, we have 31 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy, around 24%. In the evening, it drops to 24 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy, around 2%. And overnight, it drops to 23 degrees Celsius, cloudy, around 3%. And that's what we have for Ekiti Southwest this morning.
All right, moving on from Ekiti, we'll take you to Abeokuta North in Ogun State. As we speak, weather is currently partly cloudy at 24 degrees Celsius in Abeokuta. Later in the morning, it rises by 6 degrees Celsius to 30 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy with humidity at 2%. And just like in Ibadan, there will be a promise of few showers in the afternoon as weather rises to 34 degrees Celsius. Humidity will be at 33% in the afternoon. And in the evening, it will drop to 28 degrees Celsius, returning to being partly cloudy. And the humidity will be at 6%. It will be mostly clear overnight. Weather drops to 25 degrees Celsius and humidity will be at 3% right there in Abeokuta, Ogun State today.
From Abeokuta, we cross to Port Harcourt, Rivers State, and weather feels like 22 degrees Celsius in Rivers. And then later is expected to be around 27 degrees Celsius, cloudy, around 3%. In the afternoon, we have 29 degrees Celsius, scattered thunderstorms, around 55%. I'm not sure Port Harcourt can escape showers of blessings today. In the evening, it drops to 22 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy, around 4%. And overnight, it remains at 22%. 22 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy, around 3%, and that's what we have for Port Harcourt Rivers this morning.
All right, away from the south-south, we take a tour to the north-central this morning, and that takes us to Suleja in Niger State. Weather in Suleja right now is currently at 24 degrees Celsius, and it will rise by 6 degrees Celsius to 30 degrees Celsius later in the morning, and mostly cloudy with humidity at 2%. It will be partly cloudy later in the afternoon, and weather rises slightly to 32 degrees Celsius. Humidity will be at 6%. It will be partly cloudy again in the evening, and it drops to 28 degrees Celsius. Humidity at 3%. There will be zero chance of humidity overnight, while the weather is partly cloudy and drops further to 25 degrees Celsius in Suleja, Niger State today.
And from Suleja, let's cross to Kano Municipal. Weather this morning feels like 28 degrees Celsius in Kano. Later in the morning is expected to be around 34 degrees Celsius, mostly sunny around 0%. In the afternoon, we have 39 degrees Celsius, mostly sunny around 0% as well. In the evening, it drops to 31 degrees Celsius, clear around 0%. And overnight, it drops to 24 degrees Celsius, clear around 0% as well. And that's what we have for Kano this morning.
Well, lastly, on weather report this morning, we go straight to the northeast, and that is Borno, Maiduguri in Borno State. Right now in Borno, weather is currently sunny and at 26 degrees Celsius, and it rises drastically by 10 degrees Celsius to 36 degrees Celsius later in the morning, and it will be sunny with zero chance of humidity. It will remain sunny later in the afternoon as it rises again to 41 degrees Celsius. Zero chance of humidity. It will be all clear later in the evening and overnight. Zero chance of humidity at both times, and weather drops to 30 degrees Celsius and 24 degrees Celsius respectively in Borno, in Maiduguri today. It might be quite hot in Borno, and you really have to be aware of that. Okay, and of course that will be all we can take on weather report this morning, and do well to link up with us on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast, and on X, formerly Twitter, at Dominion Cast. You can watch us live on our website at www.dominion.org.ng, dominion.org.ng. It is time to go on a quick break, and when we return, it is time for Daybreak News. We'll be back.
Live from the heart of the action. Welcome to the nerve center of Next Level Broadcasting.
This is the OB van, where the studio meets the street.
Equipped with cutting-edge cameras, crystal clear audio, real-time switching, and broadcast control, we don't just capture moments, we deliver the experience live.
Anywhere, anytime, from stadiums to red carpets, breaking news to buzzing festivals, weddings, birthdays, and all sorts of ceremonies. We bring the world to your screen in real time.
It's not just a van, it's a complete mobile production house, a command center, a broadcast beast.
This is more than a broadcast. This is the OB van difference. Live, loud, limitless.
Ready to go live? Like never before. Book the OB van today and take your event to the world. One powerful broadcast at a time.
To book, call 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Email marketing@dominion.org.ng or visit our socials on Instagram @Dominion Broadcast.
Dominion Broadcast, your channel of choice.
Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng. Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at Dominioncast. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
Hello and welcome. This is Daybreak News on Dominion Television Ibadan. I'm Oluwayemi Adelakun. President Bola Tinubu has vowed to deploy the full weight of the federal government against those behind recurrent violence in Plateau State, warning that perpetrators will face decisive action. The president gave the assurance during a meeting at the presidential villa with stakeholders led by Governor Caleb Mutwang and former state leaders. He said security agencies will act swiftly once credible intelligence identifies those responsible. Tinubu also endorsed a new peace committee for the state and renewed his call for state peace as part of long-term solutions to insecurity. The Senate has confirmed the appointment of Lamido Yuguda as Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. The confirmation followed the presentation of the report by the Senate Committee on Banking led by Adetokunbo Abiru, which cleared the nominee after screening. Senate President Godswill Akpabio described Yuguda as a capable choice and commended Bola Tinubu for the appointment. The House of Representatives has amended the Electoral Act 2026 to introduce a more flexible and technology-driven system for handling election petition processes ahead of the 2027 general elections. The amendment adopted during plenary, presided over by Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu, allows court processes to be served physically and electronically, including via email and SMS, with proof of transmission considered valid. Lawmakers said the reforms will improve efficiency and reduce delays, while also expanding the jurisdiction of a federal high court over pre-election matters. They insist the changes complement rather than replace traditional procedures. Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde has cautioned against religion-based politics, urging citizens to prioritize unity ahead of the next election cycle. The governor gave the warning at a farewell ceremony for your pilgrims at the Hajj camp in Ibadan ahead of the 2026 Hajj in Mecca. He also called on the pilgrims to pray for the state and the country during the exercise. Chairman of the Oyo State Pilgrims Welfare Board, Ashim Atere, says over 1,000 pilgrims from the state will participate, with airlifting set to begin in early May. In business, the Dangote refinery has increased its ex-depot price of premium motor spirit by 75 naira per litre, raising concerns over a fresh nationwide rise in fuel prices. Industry data shows the petrol loading price has moved from 1,200 naira to 1,275 naira per litre, while coastal supply prices now stand at 1,215 naira per litre. Sources also indicate the refinery has suspended its pro forma invoice process, disrupting supply and halting sales of petrol and automotive gas oil. And in sports, Nigeria's Super Falcons will face either Sudan or Comoros in the second round of qualifiers for the women's football event at the 2028 Summer Olympics. Sudan and Comoros are set to clash in the first round between June 1st and 9th. with the winner advancing to meet Nigeria in October. The qualification series will span 5 rounds, with only 2 African teams securing spot at the games scheduled for July 2028 in Los Angeles. You can visit our website on www.dominion.org.ng to watch us live and interact with us. You can also follow us across our social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn at Dominion Broadcast and X at Dominion Cast. And the hence Daybreak News on Dominion Television. I'm Oluwayemi Adelakun saying thank you for watching and good morning.
Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng. Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at Dominion Cast. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
I welcome you back. Thank you for staying with us this morning. This is newspaper headlines and analysis. I'm Oluwayemi Adelakun. And of course, there's a lot to talk about, but let's start with the Punch newspaper with the banner headline and the kicker: 2027 election. ADC PDP awaits crucial Supreme Court verdicts today. Allow me to read the riders to you. A Apex Court ruling may redefine control of party structures. A fresh High Court order restrains INEC on ADC Congress recognition. PDP factions brace for courtroom showdown. It's about to go down, between these parties today because they await the Supreme Court final verdict today to decide on way forward, especially with the tussle going on within the ADC. We are not going to recognize your chairman of this faction. We are going to recognize that faction. And even the PDP, do not forget that up until now, the court said go back to status quo, which means go back to what was in existence before these people, let me say, before the Congress. And so it's affecting the likes of Turaki, and that makes it that the faction of Wiki has been recognized by the court of law. And ADC also, a lot is going on within that political party. But then we await the verdict of the court today, which will set another tone as we progress for the general elections. And away from that, let's also check this headline that says petrol nears 1,400 naira per litre as Dangote hikes price. Just like I read in the Daybreak news this morning, 75 naira increase. And I remember a popular lawyer and of course activist said recently in a podcast that if we are not careful, petrol might get to 2,000 naira per litre. And so many Nigerians, said no, you should stop saying that. It can be optimistic about the matter. But basically, it's not about being pessimistic. It's about the reality and what is obtainable, and then the increase in the price of fuel even as we wake up every day. And now it is at 1,400 per litre. And then, do you know the most interesting thing that can happen now, maybe not so interesting, is that if people can still get the fee when they want to, that will make so much sense. But then if people have to queue for this price, then the situation can become so biting. 1,400 and you still have to waste hours at the filling station to get petrol. It doesn't make any sense to any Nigerian as we progress right now. And away from that, let's also check this headline that says Zoni splits coalition, obedient demand Southern candidate. Don't forget, weeks back, some of the top shot, or let me say the popular supporter of Peter Obi, especially when he defected to the ADC, I'll mention names to you, the likes of Aisha Yesufu, the likes of Mama P, and then a lot of them on Twitter, so vocal, the grant interview and things like that. They've said times without number that they will not support a ticket that gives Peter Obi the VP. Is either the presidential candidate or they are not going to support him. And now looking at the body language of ADC, they're even still struggling with court order, INEC issues, this and that. But then they have a more stronger problem in that political party, which is zoning, because Atiku Abubakar said times without number that he wants to contest. But then recently on national TV, he said if the primary should happen and then it does not emerge the consensus candidate, he's willing to step down for whoever wins the primary election. But looking back at, in history, I don't think Atiku has ever lost any primaries before in the past. So it's a little bit dicey, but anything can happen in the ADC. This is not PDP, remember? Don't forget, even while he was in PDP, he left, came back, left, came back, and now he's moved to the ADC. So now, zoning might cause more issues for that political party. And that's why anytime I try to compare the ADC, the coalition party, and then what we had in 2014, 2015, speaking about the APC, that was when APC emerged. It was a coalition of, smaller parties and, of course, the bigger ones. Talk about the ACN, that had the likes of Ajimobi. Talk about the CPC of, the late President Muhammadu Buhari, and smaller parties came together to form the coalition party of the APC, and they were able to take Jonathan out of power. And then look at that smartness. But then comparing APC of that time, with the current ADC, I'm sure you can do the math by yourself without anybody. You don't even need an angel to explain things to you. But then, never say never. These people who are trying to put their house in order can get it right in the next few weeks, and of course, be able to field a candidate before the presidential election. And then one thing that the opposition members are complaining about is that the ruling party is looking for ways to ensure that only APC we have a candidate for the presidential election. And of course, that does not make sense because we've been practicing multi-party system in this country. Yes, there are several systems of political parties. We have a one-party system, two-party system, and multi-party system. We've been practicing multi-party system, even though we have about 4 major political parties in Nigeria. At the time, it was 3. It was APC, it was PDP, Labour Party joined at the time, and then we have SDP too. We have Accord now. We have about 5 major political parties now, and then we have the smaller ones. So they are saying this will alter our democracy. If at all, we can have up to about 3 persons on the ballot. Let's talk about the Accord, for instance. Accord is not so strong on the national level. Even on the state level, they are still trying to, build their structures and things like that. And that's why people are still scared for Adeleke, who recently defected to Accord, because he could not contest under the PDP because of the internal, struggles and the internal problems. And let's talk about the Labour Party. Yes, recently Labour Party zoned to the south, and then Nandi Usman, the current chairman, said they've zoned the presidency to the south. I remember very vividly, if my brain still serves me correctly, I remember that the person who was vice to Obi in the 2023 general elections, Dati, said he's interested in contesting, but he's from the north, and the presidency was zoned to the south. So that, in a way, leaves him out of the equation. So who in Labour Party from the south is willing to contest, to pick up the form, to contest for the election? That's another thing. And then if you talk about PDP too, we have two factions. They're not even sure. Reconciliation is not looking like, it will happen anytime soon. But then maybe after the court verdict today, maybe they will sheathe their sword and, of course, decide to work together. So these are the issues that we have now. Nigerians are demanding for more than one person on the ballot for the presidential election. And away from that, let's also talk about this headline that says Tinubu sacks NMDPRA boss amid jet fuel price and road. Don't forget that most persons have lost their positions in the last few weeks, last few months. And one thing I can say about this president, this current president that we have is, in a way, he has eyes for picking the right persons. And sometimes when he picks a person and is not so comfortable with what the person is doing, you just hear that maybe the person resigned or the person was sacked. And then even in recent times, we've seen a case whereby, don't forget about Wale Edun, and so many Nigerians concluded that he was sacked, but the presidency came out to say he resigned. There was even the earth clause that, okay, we all know that sometimes last year we heard about the fact that he was not feeling so well, traveled out of the country and things like that. And away from that, let's also check this headline that says Adeleke alleged APC plot to disrupt Osun election. So many cases on the neck of APC and, of course, the president, because these political parties and even these politicians of the opposition parties have come out to say severally that APC is trying to sabotage their party because they are not members of the APC. Now, Adeleke has come out to accuse APC of trying to sabotage the election. Don't forget that Osun State election is coming, sometimes this year. It could be around August or there could be a change. But then what we heard the last time is that it's going to be around August. And August is so near to us. And away from that, I'm very sure the presidency will respond to this case. Let's also check this headline that says 12 Chibok girls set to graduate from Yola Varsity. 12 of them. You see, one sad thing about these Chibok girls that we abducted at the time is that, so many of them, were not recovered. Some of them escaped, and it's really sad. Till date, we don't know anything about some of them that we abducted. Unlike, what we have now. You see, remember the Niger case when a lot of students were abducted. They came back in batches, and they were able to recover all. But for the Chibok girls, you just hear about few numbers, 10 year, 12 year, people escaped, we found these ones and things like that. Now this is maybe a good news in the way that 12 Chibok girls set to graduate from Yola Varsity. So against all odds, they were able to go to the university, and now they are set to graduate. Of course, congratulations to their family members. And of course, we do hope we can get to hear about some of these Chibok girls that, were also abducted at that time. And away from that headline, let's also check this one that says, how we abducted killed Lagos UTME candidate, and that's coming from a suspect, is really sad. And that's why we say that, can we find a way, can we reform the system? Speaking about UTME, that people, or let me say students, get to write an exam in a place, in a center that is close to their family, close to their home, so they don't really have to travel to avoid, cases like this, because it's looking so terrible. And of course, it's a dire situation if people have to lose their life because they want to write exams, basically. And away from that, let's cross to the Vanguard newspaper, and I have the banner headline that says 2027 polls, Supreme Court to determine PDP ADC fate today, and that headline has its riders to deliver a verdict on 4 appeals. Lower court bars INEC from recognizing MAC-led ADC congresses. Yes, I just mentioned that the court said go back to status quo. That was before MAC became the chairman of a particular faction. And of course, another rider is saying MAC leadership hijack plot has collapsed. Interesting. That's coming from Kachuku. Don't forget that this man has been instrumental, has been saying a lot about ADC. And then there was even a time that we heard about, some signatures were forged. And then some members of the ADC came out to say, no, signatures were not forged. You people were there when the signatures, were signed, when you signed, when things were done. So why are you coming out to say signatures were forged now? And then beyond that, we also have another rider that is saying will study ruling and take action. That's coming from Bolaji Abdullahi. And of course, lawyers, CSOs are also speaking. We've seen several protests in Abuja, the ones led by Dino Melai and some top members. We even saw the likes of Amechi, during the protest to say, okay, restore, David Mark as the national chairman, this and that, allow us to focus on the election and things like that. But then, the verdict will happen today. And away from that, let's also check this headline that says, I made Daniel governor and senator, and that's coming from Abiodun. Your claim is insulting to voters, says Daniel. Don't forget, this is not the first time that a politician will come out to say, I made you governor, I made you president. Same thing happened between Buhari and the current president. There was a time he said that Buhari came to him crying, and then he told he has contested for several times. He said, don't worry, you'll become president. And there was even a time, I remember, that the president called a certain governor, Eleyi, you remember that governor? And then he said, can he become governor if not because of my help in a way? So this is not the first time that politicians will come out to say, I helped you. Even the case between this godfather and godson of Ubara and Wike in Rivers State. Severally, Wike has come out to say, some people are ungrateful because, we helped them get to where they are today. And issues like that. So it's not the first time that people will throw, subtle jabs, in situations like this. And of course, from Vanguard, let's cross to Nigerian Tribune and check the headline. The banner headlines are talking about the ADC and then the court verdict. Supreme Court decides PDP ADC's fate today, and that the writer is saying, I court bars INEC from recognizing ADC state congresses. As a matter of fact, that party is shaken for the coalition party, that so many Nigerians are seen as another option in case they don't want to vote for the current administration. That party is going through tough times as we speak. And then beyond that, we also have this headline that says, please order dismissal prosecution of officers involved in foreign shooting. I mean, that is, very, that situation should not have happened at all. And I really, commend the police who have been able to give an order for the prosecution of the officers, because that's one thing. Yesterday we spoke about somebody who was shot by a police officer. If you don't correct these anomalies, if you don't make these people answer to their crimes, we'll keep seeing issues like that, basically. And away from that, let's also check this headline that says 210 trillion naira NNPCL probe Kyari. GR ready to testify. A Senate committee gives Ojulari fresh May ultimatum, risk arrest. I remember when he was asked to show up, the Senate called him to show up. He said, the Senate did not elect me. The president appointed me. So basically, why are you asking me to show up? And these are the issues that, the president has the authority. According to the 1999 Constitution, as amended severally, he can appoint, he can fire. And so many times, let me refer back to River State now. When Ibas was the person managing the state after, Fubara was suspended, later, after the 6 months last, when it was called to come and account for how much he spent in that 6 months, he said, you people did not appoint me. The president appointed me. I'm accountable to the president and not to the Senate. It's something we need to talk about. Yesterday we were talking about constitution review, amendment, and things like that. A lot of things must be checked because, there are loopholes in the constitution that give room for certain persons to just act, basically, and then say, okay, at the end of the day, you didn't appoint me. The president did. And of course, away from that headline, let's also check this one that says that Tinubu mandate Plateau stakeholders to work towards lasting peace, donate 2 billion naira to victims. Right. It's a good one coming from the president. And then he's not the only one who has been donating. I remember I read a particular news, I think about last week or so, that one of the pastors, or let me say clerics that we have in this country, he said Apostle Joshua Sema donated, cash gifts and then food to victims, of issues like this. But then beyond pumping money into things like this, I'm speaking to the government now, beyond pumping money, giving money to the victims, getting them shelter, can we be proactive? Because all these measures are reactive. We are just trying to arrest the situation. It has happened already. But then there's a way to be proactive, to tackle, to nip this in the bud even before it happens. Because these people, before they attack, they write letters, they give them body language. They don't just come around. And then at the end of the day, nothing is done. These people come around, they'll do assault, kill people, abduct so many persons in a same country. It's a lot, basically. Another headline this morning saying, Dangote refinery's jet fuel export rise sharply as World Bank IMF face criticism over East Africa refinery debate. Of course, I said this, I think around 2021, 2022, and I was on set with one of my analysts, and then I asked him a question. People are jubilating about Dangote's refinery. He spent billions of naira on that refinery. And then people forget that it's not government owned. He's not going to run his refinery like the way government will run it. We have 4 moribund refineries, Port Harcourt, this and that, and then we are not doing so much. People are even calling for, let's sell these refineries off. But when we sell them off, what are we going to do with the money, with the process? So people forget, very easily. And I remember, wherever he is now, he's going to remember my words. It's good, and as a matter of fact, his refinery have also helped us immensely. Without Dangote refinery, I wonder how much we'll be selling fuel. People will be getting fuel now. But at the end of the day, it's private owned, and we need to work on our own refineries as well. Imagine if those 4 refineries are working perfectly alongside Dangote refinery. I'm very sure things would have changed, for better. From Nigerian Tribune, let's cross to Daily Sun this morning. And I have the banner headline that says, suspect public execution, IGP orders dismissal, trial of ASP and others. And this is the second time policemen are killing sons. That's coming from the victim's mother. This is sad. The mother is saying that they've killed her sons, not the first time, but the second time. What is going on? And that's why I said, do people get punishment for what they do the first time? Because you are allowing a mother to mourn twice. It doesn't make any sense in a sane country. Why should you shoot? There are measures. I just mentioned that at a time, I think about a few months ago, last year, a man was driving his kid to school, and then because the policemen were trying to stop him, he didn't stop, and then they shot at the kid, and that kid died. He was driving the kid to school to write exams. So there are better ways to handle things, and that's why we need to learn. And from the Western world, yes, issues like this also happen in the Western world, but then we can still learn, and people should get punishment for whatsoever it is that they have done, so we can reduce this to the barest minimum. And away from that headline, let's also check this headline that says, ADC knows fate today as Supreme Court rules on leadership crisis. High Court bars INEC from recognizing parties' congresses. And don't forget that at the time, even the PDP convention, remember the likes of Wiki said, it's Amala convention, they are just playing, basically. I don't know, the same thing might happen to the congresses that, the ADC held, recently. And away from that, we also have this one that says, Tinubu names Bianca Odumego Ojukwu Minister of Foreign Affairs, and of course, nominate another person, for the state. Don't forget that she's been in the system for a while, and of course Yusuf Tuga resigned basically because of his political ambition. I'm sure you know that if you've been following the headlines. And of course, moving away from that headline, we have the song that says that Tinubu, enemies want to use insecurity to oust me. And that headline as is right there, prides himself as stubborn politician. The president said yesterday, recently in a video, and I watched the video, he said, people are trying to use insecurity to take me out of office, but I'm stubborn. And basically, if you know him, if you'll be able to read about him, even before he became the president, he has that tenacity, he has that, strength to say whatever it is I want to get. Don't forget, even while he was contesting for presidency, he came out recently to say some persons are trying to frustrate my ambition, but I'm going to get, to that seat, to that position. And of course, he got there. So he's trying to say that, okay, beyond insecurity, or let me say insecurity majorly, people are trying to use that to ask me. But that's not the only point. That's not the only complaint of some Nigerians. People are also talking about electricity. They're talking about infrastructure. They're talking about a whole lot of things, concerning this administration, basically. And then from that particular paper, let's also cross to another paper this month. Let's cross to Daily Trust. And I have a headline that says, Mr. President, please address marginalization on zoning in Bauchi State. They're calling the president to address whatever it is that is going on in Bauchi State, because they want a situation whereby people are treated fairly. Yeah, so they want to ensure that, and of course they're calling on the president. And then beyond that, we also have this headline that says, leader court orders DSS to hand over operative. And then moving away from that because of time, also have this headline that says, enemies trying to use insecurity to get rid of me. That's coming from the president. And that's not the only reason, basically. because there are other reasons why the people are saying, you are not doing so well, we want this, we want that, even fuel subsidy. I remember the podcast that happened recently. I think Show Sonny was part of that podcast, and of course DG Adeyoju, and then he said that the president should not have removed the first subsidy the way he did. But then most of these opposition leaders, they all claimed they were going to remove the first subsidy. But then maybe some of them are not so comfortable with the timing. And of course, they think that the president didn't put in place necessary measures, that will reduce the suffering on the people in a way. And that's why the judge even said that if the president should bring back the subsidy today, the price of fuel will come down. What's the assurance for that? How sure are we that that will happen if subsidy comes back? He's also asking, the money that has been saved, ever since we removed the subsidy, where is it? Can the government account for it? These are the questions, basically, that they need to answer. And away from that, let's also check this headline that says, ambassadors designate get land in Abuja. Well, okay, away from that, we also have pastor killed, 15 worshippers abducted in Ekiti. What happened in Ekiti, it should not have happened at all. People were abducted, the pastor lost his life, and then, I don't know, Ekiti at the time was very intense. I remember there was a year, I think around 2024, the attacks, followed each other. Even at some point, some clerics, they lost their lives, and then some monarchs also lost their lives, and then it's something that should not have happened at all. I think it's a fine place to leave the discussion this morning. We await the court verdict on ADC and PDP, and of course, you can trust us to keep you abreast of the situation. Thank you for being a part of the segment. My name is Oluwayemi Adelakun. Please stay with us. Big story comes up soon. We'll be right back.
morning and welcome once again to the big story on Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. I am Samson Balogu. Today we turn our attention to a development already shaping the political direction of Nigeria ahead of 2027. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's open declaration of interest in a second term has done more than signal personal ambition. It has effectively fired the major political shots in the race to 2027. With that declaration, the countdown has begun, not just for the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, but also for an opposition still searching for cohesion, strategy, and direction. So, what does this early declaration mean for governance in the present? Will the business of leadership now compete with the politics of the election? Is this a strategic masterstroke by the APC, or an early test of the opposition's relevance and readiness? This morning, we examined the implications of the president's second-term signal, what it means for national governance, party politics, and the shape of opposition politics in the years ahead. And joining us for this particular conversation is Honorable Omalaja Olaoye. He's a native APC chieftain, and Samson Balogu is my name, and thank you for joining us. Now, President Bola Tinubu's second-term declaration may have come before many expected, but politically, it changes everything. In one move, the president has shifted national conversation from governance alone to governance and succession strategy. So, for the APC, it is an early move to consolidate power, test party loyalty, and frame the next electoral contest before the opposition fully regroups. So, for the opposition, it is a direct challenge. Organize early, unite quickly, and risk entering into 2027 contest already behind. But beyond the politics lies a deeper national concern. What happens when a sitting government begins to think ahead of the election while still managing present economic hardship, insecurity, inflation, and public frustration? So, can governance remain fully focused when political calculations have already begun? Or is this simply the reality of democratic power, where governance and politics must always move side by side? This conversation is only about President Tinubu's ambition. It is about timing, strategy, power, and the consequences of beginning the 2027 conversation in 2026. And this is why this discussion this morning actually matters. And before we go straight into the conversation, before I bring Honorable Omalaja Olaoye on board this morning, let's listen to some of the key things the president talked about when he made those bold assertions and the claims that he wants to run for office, a re-election for the office of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We'll be back shortly after this particular one. Thank you.
If we have to borrow money, we borrow. It's not borrowing is not a leprosy. We just have to work hard to be able to pay for it. You are playing to the hand of agents, including my own enemies, who want to use insecurity to get rid of me. I'm a very stubborn politician. I just refuse to go. And I will campaign for my second term. I will work. If we have to borrow money, we borrow. It's not borrowing is not a leprosy. We just have to work hard to be able to pay for it.
Those two assertions were the ones that stood out in what the president said. So I want to bring Honorable Omalaja Olaoye on board this morning. Good to have you in the studio.
Pleasure to be here, Samson. And for the people who are watching us at home, we are very grateful for your everyday dedication. And thank you very much.
Okay, now the president made some bold claims yesterday. He spoke about borrowing, he spoke about his ambition, security crisis in the country. But for you, Honorable Omalaja, I want to ask you, this declaration came a bit too early than what people expected. And is it a sign of confidence from the APC, or they are already jittery that if they don't start early, the opposition might gain more grounds than the APC ahead of the next election?
Seriously, it's a combination of both, and the facts still remain that when you are prepared, you don't fear for anything, and this is a very good, is a very critical time in any political party, because when everybody are fighting for different slots, there is always political intrigues and fighting, and fighting all the time. And it's better for you to be settled now, and for it to be towards the election, which is going to be disastrous. At least before the election, everybody that is seriously having some grudges will have been able to settle all the grudges before then. You can see what is happening in your state. It's always about political intrigues when it comes to governorship and any other office that being fought for right in your state. So what is happening right now is well expected, and APC, they are well prepared because they have a lot of billion people who are there in the aim of affair to be able to pilot things, unlike the opposition who doesn't even get themselves and they don't know where to go or where to start. So I think APC is getting ready.
Some said when governance and politics, when they are played side by side, one suffers, and most definitely it is governance that suffers the most. Now that the president has started campaigning too early by some people, especially at a time when Nigeria is busy grappling with inflation, insecurity, economic hardship. So is this the right time for the president to talk about re-election?
Yes, there have never been any best time to talk about the election, because that is what is happening in the developed world as well. When you are talking about United States of America, when you are talking about Britain, we have seen that when Biden started, immediately Trump lost, and he has fought his way in order to be able to keep the seat. Immediately after, he said he's going to contest for the next election that is coming. That is what he said. And when you are talking about a conservative like United States of UK, you have seen the way they have been debated. Debate has been done when you are talking about House of Parliament. It's always about fighting. And one thing that is peculiar to this is that when you are talking about sitting government, it will try as much as possible to concentrate on governance and the same thing about politics. Because mind you, the opposition are going to, like he said, they wanted to bring him down because of insecurity and probably the loan he's taking. That is what they base their assertion and their power, or what they can be able to do much better. And these people have been there for a very long time. They have never made any impact when it's come to even governance and even how they are going to be able to do a lot of things when they are talking about politics. So, unlike what is happening, there is no way politics and governance is going to go side by side, because the opposition are always using any weakness in the government as an advantage in order to kill that government. So that's what makes those in governance, any political party in governance, to be governed and again between opposition at the same time.
Okay, now that you have mentioned this, let me ask you this very quickly. Was this a strategic political move by the president himself, his personal decision, or this is a what you call a coordinated arrangement, a coordinated decision of the APC to dominate the 2027 conversation early?
The problem we are having is that we have seen in the time past how a political party is so dominating every aspect of life. They can be able to boast that they are the largest political party in Africa. But when you have this kind of laurel, or you have this kind of at least achievement, and you cannot know how to manage it, that is the problem that is always happening. Like President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he has been planning this for a very long time. So he's a strategist. At the same time, he's a politician. And when it is not a lot of these people who are now coming together, they think they have experience. But at the end of the day, they are bullies. If they are not bullies, they will have even make sure they settle all the intrigues and problems they have been having before all this. This is not, the problem is not exceptional to APC as well. APC, the beginning of when they created this party, There's always intrigues and political jibe and problem that is coming up. But they face it head-on. I remember the chairman of CPC said that he is not going to support the political party that was being formed. I've forgotten the name of this man. He blatantly refused. He said he has the certificate that is not going to leave it. But at the end of the day, when they are submitting the certificate, the original certificate is kept to who's supposed to have it, probably the secretary of the party. So now, by the time it's been formed, when you see the majority, even if the chairman said he's not going to be able to sign, if you see the majority that is going to be involved and they collectively agree to do something, I don't think anybody can. But when you are talking, opposition party were the one that shot themselves in the leg. You see a lot of things that they always ignore the court judgment, and there is no way you can be able to ignore the court judgment and don't think you are going to be able to survive. See what happened during the time of Oshiomhole, a world chairman, when we are having 70-something local government, probably we have probably 2,000 or 3,000 what was the one that befell Oshiomhole. I even like he was a organizer. I'm sorry to say that. It's a very good profession, but people are going to say a common organizer. But he fell down Oshiomhole, and Oshiomhole at the end of the day agreed, and he bought out of the power. But unlike when you are talking about Iwosu, that the former chairman of ADC, that's been in the shadow for more than 15, even against the constitution.
20 years.
20 years. It is not done. Oshiomhole doesn't even spend about 2.5 years before he was fair. He felt and he agreed. For somebody who spends it against the constitution stipulated that you cannot spend more than 2 terms of probably 3 years, or 5 years, or 6 years, and our constitution based our term to be 4 years. You cannot spend more than that, and you are spending about 20 years. For you to know that they have created political logjam themselves, and they are seeing it. So you can see the Amala Convention as well, which is being stopped by the court of law, but they ignore. So if they are now having this kind of misfortune at this particular, they don't supposed to blame President Tinubu or opposition party. It is not done.
So going back to President Tinubu's declaration, should Nigerians be worried that some strategic decisions will be politically motivated in the run-up to the general elections?
Nigerians are there to be able to watch, and they are the one that is going to give their mandate to whoever they want. Mind you, it is not about APC, not only APC, not only PDP, not only ADC that are on the ballot. There are many political parties. These people can jump to tomorrow if they can be able to agree with those people who are in that political party and make it to be mega. It is not about ADC or PDP or APC. People must be able to show their strength. Before, in the United States of America, the only powerful element is Democrat. Probably before Republican. There are gap between Democrat and Republican when you are talking about years of creation. At the end of the day, there are 2 political parties right now. But what about Labour? Before Labour Democrat is so powerful in United States of America, in the United Kingdom, that now they hardly see Labour Democrat anymore. But what we are saying that they can make any political party to be bigger, but they must be able to abide by the rules and the regulation of that political party. In as much as they can be able to do that, they are going to triumph if they have a very good policy for people. But at the end of the day, if you are not prepared, you are bound to fail.
Okay. Can the president realistically convince struggling Nigerians that politics of 2027 will not disturb today's decisions?
It depends on the decision you are talking about. He has his own policy, and he has been adlaying all his policies all the time. He has been talking about some fundamental reform that needs to be done. Like he talked about policing, when you are talking about security, that each state should be able to control their security. And mind you, he's not even doing it purposely because of the state. They are creating funds for it. How the fund can be able to be shared between the state, how the state can be able to generate their fund as well, and what is going to come from the federal post to be able to fund this policing when you are talking about security. And you know, security is always local. instead of them bugging our soldier at this particular time, I think when they do that, and you are talking about other reform that is coming with it as well. So if he's going to be able to do this, let him give chance. We have been, Nigeria, this republic has been struggling for a very long time, and no clear reform has been done by any other government. And this government is making sure that it's going to do a reform that is going to be spectacular to the Nigerians.
Let me ask you two questions in one. Do you think Nigerians of now have weak opposition? And do you think the president and the APC is capitalizing on weak opposition in Nigeria?
Like I said, I don't want to talk about weak opposition. It is you that has that achievement that you should be able to manage it. If you don't manage your fortune, you know the fortune is going to go down, whether you like it or not. It is like no matter what is go up, it's going to come down. The opposition are not well prepared. They are being managed by a lot of inexperienced people. We have seen a situation that it is one particular government that even dismantled PDP because of his heading, because he was so strong-headed. Politics is about give and take.
If you say they are inexperienced, Senator David Mark was Senate President for how many years? He was in the floor of the House for over 20 years. And you talk about Rauf Aregbesola, former governor of Osun State. He was governor for 8 years. He was Minister of Interior. Rotimi Ameji was Minister of Works. He was governor for 8 years. In fact, he was a speaker in his state. He started at the grassroots level. And if you say Atiku Abubakar was former vice president for 8 years. So are you saying all these people are inexperienced?
I'm telling you they are inexperienced. I can say to you. So people got their luck by being fortunate.
Are you saying they were just lucky?
No, they are just lucky. I'm telling you sincerely. Because now, for you to be able to be in government, it is not about when you have to be in the shadow, or in the limelight all the time. You can be in the shadow, and you can be able to do wonderful things. You are talking about music. A lot of people write music, and they are under the shadow, and they last longer than those people who sing the song. Not all the time, people who sing the song can be able to last forever. But what I'm saying, it is not about experience alone. It's about how they can be able to manage the experience they have.
Is it experience or they lack strategy?
No, they lack. I would say they lack strategy. That's what I'm saying.
Which one of the two? Is it they are inexperienced or they lack strategy?
They lack strategy. You see, when you are talking about inexperience as well, you can be in a particular job for almost 20 years. And you cannot be able to grab anything. Probably you are there. That is why they will grade you when you are talking about academic, when you are talking about first class, second class, third class. And this, how can they went to ADC blindfoldedly and they see all this problem and they ignore it because they think they have power. But you can have, sometimes these people, it is not about, you are talking about politics. Politics can change all the time. It is not about, you say you are good when it's politics. If people love you, they are going to follow you.
Okay, talking about declarations, the president declared, and some other people also, they have declared their intention to run for office. But in Ogun State, something is happening. And might likely lead to a major crisis within the APC's fold in Ogun State. Let's listen to Governor Dapo Abiodun of Ogun State and what might look like a crisis that will soon ensue in that political party. Let's watch him and then we'll come back and talk about that.
You know, I was here when Governor Musu became governor. I was here when Governor Daniel was governor. I actually ran against Governor Daniel then. As soon as he emerged in his primaries, I was one of the first to congratulate him. And I gave him all my structure. I delivered to him and I supported him. You know, and we know what we've done for each other over the years. I know what my relationship with Daniel was when I assumed office, you know, and how I held his hand to ensure that he was integrated back into the party. You know, and these are facts. These are facts. I know what I did for Governor Daniel to become a senator. I've never said this publicly. And I'm saying it now. I know what I did for him to emerge as senator. You know, Bishop is here. Senator Mustafa, they are here. They were the front runners in that election. You know, I know what my intervention was to get them to step down for him to emerge as senator. We entrusted it to him. If Governor Daniel now believes that the only way to repay me is to be...
That was the governor of Ogun State. and he made some bold claims and how he supported Otumba Gbenga Daniel, a senator, sitting senator, and of course a former governor of that state. He said he's been there. If they both ruled for two terms, that's 8 years, 16 years. He's been in the game for a long time, and he even ran against Senator Ibikunle Amosun at that time. So something keeps happening in some states, and I want you to react to it. In Oyo State, in recent times, you have not really seen a former governor that has gone back to the Senate. Yes, we have had people who contested. Senator Isiaka Abiola Ajimobi contested and he lost. But we have not seen former governors go back and to the Senate. In Ekiti, it hasn't really happened. Some of them have contested. In Osun, the same thing. In Lagos, no state governor, sitting governor, has gone to the House of Senate. The only thing that has happened is they were senators and then became governors. But in places like Ogun, it looks like the Senate happens to be the retirement plan of former governors. Senator Ibikunle Amosun, talk about Senator Gbenga Daniel, and Dapo Abiodun too wants to go to the Senate. So, if you look at the look of things, is this the Ogun State APC sitting firmly on a keg of gunpowder?
I don't think it's like that. Whether they are going to like it or not, in as much as
they need to fight. Dapo Abiodun is even going for the same ticket. Senator Gbenga Daniel will be fighting.
Yeah, I think Dapo Abiodun is just talking story. I think he likes to talk story all the time because
he's the sitting governor.
Yeah,
he's the leader of the APC.
It is not about he should be able to put himself down or even table himself to be scrutinized by the members of the political party. You must be able to test your popularity and your ability. If you cannot be able to test your popularity and ability within the member, why are you going forth for the general election? What he was saying, that whether you are the governor, you are sitting down, you have the money, you have what it takes, and you have the member. If you take care of them, they are going to vote for you. Why is it going to scare up somebody stepping down for someone? It's not. I just think it's just a little story. It's just about storytelling. Put yourself for scrutiny within the member of APC and test your ability and popularity as well. All this what Dapo Abiodun say is just storytelling. He must be able to at least Otumba Gbenga Daniel has thrown down the gullet. He should be able to pick it up and just snort it out with him instead of this story talking.
If this issue between these two continues, do you think Otumba Gbenga Daniel might likely leave the party, the senator?
It's not about leaving the party. Otumba Gbenga Daniel has not signified that he's going to leave the party. He has went to procure the form. He bought the form before
to have someone like Otumba Gbenga Daniel on the opposing side of the ballot.
It is not. I am saying Otumba Gbenga Daniel is not going anywhere. He is ready to slot it out with Dapo Abiodun.
It was announced out of the stakeholders meeting. They could not enter.
That he has not been driving out because the governor
they could not enter. It was locked.
He might not be able to enter in the.
Has it been fenced?
It cannot be fenced within the party. He has procured. The good thing about it is that you don't need to procure the form from the state. They went to the federal and procured the form. That is what is need to be done. And now that Abiodun is the one that is making the talking, Otumba Gbenga Daniel has not made any speech. He wanted to put himself for scrutiny among the people and is ready to do that. At least for what the president has said, he said you have the mandate is within you, the governors, for you to know that if you are governor, do well in any position you are. If you don't do well, people are going to speak with their vote. He knew what he has done. He knew he's not popular among the party members. That is why he is looking for consensus candidate. And you can see what is happening in your state as well. Some people are looking for consensus. Some people want to table themselves for the scrutiny among the member of the party. That is what we need. And with this, if you can do it according to the way it should be done, like it's been done in the United States of America, I don't think we are going to have any problem in Nigeria.
Now, talking about consensus in your state, shortly before we go, have you noticed a trend recently? Senator Teslim Kolawole Folari has been silent.
He has not been silent. Yeah, they have been doing a lot of meeting among themselves. Like I heard, I think he's coming out as well. I think he wanted to contest for governorship in our state. I think everybody must be able to show their face and they must be tabled themselves for scrutiny among the members who are the decision makers. And if the party can be given to the members, I am telling you, a lot of these people are going to do well. Instead of looking for cheap consensus to be nominated by the godfather that is even not straight to the democratic setting. With that, we are good to go in Nigeria.
Will a silence finally speak doom for the APC in the
There is no doom that is coming. The doom that is coming are those people that are in doom already.
Senator
And the PDP
is a grassroots politician. It needs to be taken seriously in your political party.
I'm not going to doubt that he's a grassroots politician, at least if he can be able to prove himself.
Will Chibaya Adelabu get his support?
His support, he doesn't need. Everybody should be able to go to the poll. We need that for you to know who the members wanted. With that, we will not have any problem. We have seen a candidate that won election as a Guba that said he doesn't have a godfather, that is now portraying himself as a godfather. Don't you think that is hypocrisy? We don't need godfatherism. We need people like you and me to determine and decide the fate of ourselves. And those who are going to represent us, who we are going to give the mandate before they get to the
poll. You've
poll.
spoken so much about this primary election in Oyo State. You have an aspirant of choice.
Yes,
you are so sure he's going to win the primary election.
I'm sure Chibaya Adelabu is going to do well. When you are talking about coming up of any time there is going to be primary, if the man is fit enough, the man is an orator, the man is presentable.
You think he's the biggest candidate in your political party?
Enough to be able to. He's been loved by the member of the political party.
Are you sure?
I'm damn too sure. I'm telling you.
The primary election is almost here. We'll see what will happen. He sent his personal assistant to get his form.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
When Sarafadin Ali went to pick his own, Senator Sarafadin Ali, we saw so many lawmakers who went there with him. Does that signal support from their hand?
They don't even know. Are they not those people who are in National Assembly that are begging for consensus to be nominated and not to be challenged? For you to know that a lot of them they don't even know they are standing on the thread of wood. How they can be able to stand, we don't know, because a lot of them knew that they don't do it very well to the members of the party. I don't know about public, but I think members of the political party are the public people as well. They must test themselves among the members of the party, and we are going to see how it's going to
end.
I
don't think their support is a threat to anybody?
It's not a threat. They can support their colleagues, which is normal, which is expected. Is one of their colleagues. So what I expected from them, it is not that, but they have done that, and the member are now the one that is going to choose who they want for the political party.
Thank you, Honorable Mola Joloye, for joining us this morning.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
It has been an eye-opening session with you. So, as the road to 2027 begins to take shape earlier than expected, one thing is already clear. President Tinubu's second-term declaration has changed the political tempo of the country. For the APC, it is a declaration of confidence. For the opposition, it is a call to urgency. And for Nigerians, it raises the bigger question of whether early political positioning will strengthen governance or distract from it. The next election may still be some distance away, but the politics of it has already begun. What remains to be seen is whether this early start will produce stronger leadership, sharper opposition, and better governance, or simply deepen the cycle of power and political calculation. Honorable Mola Joloye, an APC chieftain, I say thank you to you for joining us and for sharing your insight on the big story this morning. And to our viewers out there, thank you for staying with us on Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. I am Samson Balogun. Join us again as we go on a short break. And of course, when we are back, Trend Watch is next. Good morning from here.
a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng. Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at Dominion Cast. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. It's time for Trend Watch, and then we take a look at what's trending in the world of politics in Nigeria. What we have this morning saying Osun Guba, APC vows to defeat Adeleke by 10 p.m. on election day. And of course, that's what we are talking about. The Director General of the All Progressives Congress APC Campaign Council, Mr. Oluwole Oke, has disclosed that the party's candidate, Bola Oyebamiji Ambo, will defeat the incumbent governor, Ademola Adeleke, fairly during the governorship election on August 15, saying the present administration's days in office are numbered. And of course, the supporters of Adeleke are not having that conversation. They are saying it's too early. I don't know why Samson is, his face is saying a lot. They're saying it's too early to conclude that it's going to win APC is going to win that election, especially with the fact that Adeleke, is an incumbent, governor. And then beyond that, they're also making reference to the fact that, he left PDP with strong, with the structures and things like that to Accord, who according to them, Accord is not so strong in Osun State. And then they are banking on that premise to say that APC and Bo will win before 10 p.m. In Osun State, basically. What do you think?
I think that is, in football, there's something we call mind games, and coaches do it a lot of times just to unsettle the opposition and make them look inferior, or maybe make them see themselves as not enough ahead of the game. And I think that's exactly what is playing out between these two. Arguably, the two biggest candidates in the forthcoming election in August in Osun State. And the APC being the political party that has ruled for 8 years before Adeleke took over 4 years ago in the PDP, and when the crisis occurred in the PDP, he had to move to Accord. Yeah. And for Adeleke, he is the incumbent, yes, truly, but incumbents too, they lose elections. Actually, it has happened before. It doesn't mean that because you are a sitting governor or a sitting president, you cannot lose an election. It depends on your acceptability amongst the people. And does Adeleke have the acceptability? Well, it will be decided at the polls. And
based on the things that you've done.
Right. And they also mentioned the issue of structure and how popular Accord is in the states. I don't think it's about the popularity of the party, it's about acceptance. And if you can preach your political party to people, and the size of the party does not matter. It's about how popular you are amongst the people and if they are willing to vote for you. So let's leave the issue of party aside. Let's talk about individuals. Are they both popular? I think, yes, to an extent, they are both popular. Do they have the support of the people? That will be decided at the polls. Because for me, I really do not believe the crowd you see at campaign grounds. because it is still the same set of people, most times the same set of people that will go for this, that will also go for that. I'm not talking about politicians, I'm talking about citizens who really want to go and see for themselves what exactly is going on there. So, if you see 2 million people here, be rest assured that a few of them, a fraction of those people you are seeing there in a CORD rally, will also go to the APC rally to see what is going on there. So, you cannot really test the might when it comes to rallies. You can only test when you count the number of votes in your ballots. So how many people have voted for you will now determine how strong you are politically. So for me, I think some assertions are really, they are politically generated and motivated, and you can't really take that serious until the election has come and gone and you can say, yes, he said it, and we are seeing the results. But I don't think, Adeleke will be a pushover, and even if he's going to lose this election, it's never going to be a pushover. He's the sitting governor, just like you mentioned, and also he has the state tools at his disposal. For yes, Ambo also might be rich. He has friends that are rich. They are going to spend a lot of money in the election. They have all the resources necessary.
What's on the street? You mentioned party. What's on the streets is that Ambo is, in a way, banking on the popularity of the APC and the strength of the party.
Yes, and that is why you have to, they both have leverage, okay? They have leverage, and for Ambo, is banking on the party's popularity. And yes, he's not a newbie in Osun State politics. He served with Boyega Oyetola, the former governor, who is now the Minister of Blue Economy. And for Adeleke, was a former senator. He is also the sitting governor. Yes, his party might not be so popular, not like the PDP and the APC. But what he has at his disposal is the state tools. He has that. All that is at his disposal. So for me, I think they both have something to bank on, and that will be decided at the polls. Let's take some comments before we go.
Right, of course. Leon Gratia's Enterprises is saying, funny statement, the sitting governor for that matter. How is that possible with a laughing emoji?
Well, I think I also mentioned that you can't say you can want to defeat a sitting governor before 10 p.m. I mean, that's really a bold statement. And also, some Oba says Adeleke will win before 12 noon. That's another very bold statement.
Somebody come and say we win before 10 a.m.
Honestly, people are really, they are so confident. Right? And confidence can help you, and at the same time can destroy whatever it is you have built. You don't have to be overconfident in anything you are doing. As long as you want to be confident, you have to keep working on that ground.
You have to be real too.
You have to be real.
Don't shoot yourself in the leg.
Someone said, APC has 15 million followers, and said Labour Party has over 200 million, party members. How many are we in Nigeria?
Some Yoruba people say Alara Luma Shekini.
Right, you can say that too. It's a convenient point to leave at this morning. So thank you for being a part of the show so far. Don't forget to link up with us on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast, and on X, formerly Twitter, at Dominion Cast. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel at Dominion Broadcast and like our Facebook page at Dominion Broadcast Television. Well, it's a fine place to draw the curtains. Join us again tomorrow on Daybreak Live Extra on Dominion Television, your channel of choice. Samson Balogun is my name. I say keep being good out there, keep being safe. Security business is everybody's business. All right, if you see something, say something. Bye for now.
All right, thank you for being a part of the show. See you tomorrow. My name is Oluwayemi Adela. Bye for now.